Bridge with Kira is sponsored by the original Done Right Buffalo Wing Sauce. If you're looking for something spicy and different, look no further. The original Done Right Buffalo Wing Sauce is all you'll need. It's good on everything. Homemade goodness from Riverview, New Brunswick. Shipping's available, so check them out. www.dunrightbuffalowingsauce.com. Hi everyone, welcome to The Bridge. I'm your host, Kira Young, and you've reached me on Revolution Radio. It is Saturday, the 2nd of July, 2016, and we're ready to rock. I've got a great guest tonight. Her name is Cynthia Brooks. She's an actress and also I would call a health activist like myself. She's a cancer survivor, and she did it her own way, and she serves as a good example for those who are looking for different avenues towards healing and opening them all up. So let's see if Cynthia is available.
Hello.
Hi there. Welcome to The Bridge. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day, and I'm really happy that you could join me again. Our last conversation, we had a bunch of friends with us, and we were kind of goofing around, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was. It was a great show. I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me again.
Yes, and this time we don't have any technical difficulties. Although broadcasting with Real Liberty Media, we do have some technical difficulties that we need to work out, but we're still on Revolution Radio, and will be replayed on Tuesday in Ireland with People's Internet Radio. So.
Oh, fantastic. Hi, Ireland.
The great people over there also seeking solutions and looking for new ways of handling old problems that we've had for a long time.
Oh, fantastic.
So I've already let people know who haven't heard the last conversation that we had about you being a cancer survivor, and that you found your own way, your own formula toward healing. And yes. That's a real important part of your message.
Yes.
Yeah. No cookie cutter there for healing.
No. And, well, that's pretty much what I promote. I know I've said this a million times, and those who have heard it before, but I'm going to say it again. It's worthy of the repetition that, we are all so individualized and so unique, and there's only one of us, on the planet that ever has been or ever will be. And when people tend to doubt that, I always just tell them, look at your hands, look at your fingerprints. That's the only one that's there. So what worked, brilliantly for me, you can do many, many, many of the things, but there's going to be changes and alterations that need to be made for each and every individual on their healing path, whether it be diet or the spiritual work or the emotional work. None of us have had the same experiences, and so there's always going to be something, that needs to be tweaked. And that's the problem with, not just Western medicine, a lot of alternative doctors. Some of them, they're doing the same thing. It's kind of the same regimen and the same protocol for everyone. And then there's, not 100% results coming in, and they wonder why. Because, it always needs to be tweaked a little bit for every different individual. It's all individualized.
I wonder sometimes about alternative medicine and how it's sort of cut off at the knees because there's already this Western model that it sort of has to fit itself into. So you're kind of playing a losing game there. So you're looking for the same types of indications of success in this alternative model as you would be in the Western model, and I don't think that that the data plays out in the same way because of what you're saying here about the individual needs to find their own path, and it may also be that it's the process itself of not just the end result or the tools that you find along the way to assist you in your healing, but the actual process of going there and looking for what's going to work for you is...
Well, Kira, you're brilliant, and as usual, you hit the diagnostic nail on the head. So if there's anyone in the healing process, not just with cancer, but with anything, and a little side note, I've been cancer-free we're going on 20 years now. And because of that journey and because of my wanting to assist others once I stumbled upon something that worked for me, the spectrum broadened into AIDS, into multiple sclerosis, into things like, statistics are always arguable. There's somewhere between 60 and 80% of those having open heart surgery never needed it, and there's a lot of documentaries out there about people, hospitals, doctors deliberately knowing and going ahead with open heart surgery. So, through this leukemia is another one. Simple cure, alternative cure. So, as I walked along my path after, I got my clean bill of health, it really spread into all these different arenas. And every day, it seems someone comes to me. I just heard of something that I'd never heard of before, and someone asked for my help. Now I'm doing the research on that and figuring that one out. But, it broadened into so many different, dis-eases, if you will, meaning dis-ease. So it just keeps going and going and going. Back to your question, though, yeah, it was the process of the healing path. And I say in my book, my journey was not even curing myself of cancer. My journey was to find my God. And that's what that journey was about. And getting back to self and getting back into who I truly am, and the self-empowerment, all of those things, that journey, because I was raised strict Catholic, and there was a lot of holes in that for me. And, I love Catholics. I love everybody. So, you know what I'm saying? This is nothing against any belief, religion, what have you. I honor all beliefs and respect them. Catholicism wasn't working for me at a very early age. So I already had started researching other philosophies and beliefs, so-and-so. And then, being a very angry little teenager, and in my 20s too, very angry, I sort of just let the whole God thing go out of anger, not a rational decision by any means, and let that go for years. And then spirituality kind of found me, and I started stumbling upon one thing after another after another. What's interesting is about 6 months, trying to rediscover my own spirituality, that's when I got the diagnosis too. So you could have said right there, wait a second, Cynthia, you're on the wrong path. You're trying to study spirituality and you just got a death sentence, that's what it was. That's why I had to heal myself fast and furious, because, my back was up against the wall. And I think knowing my personality, unfortunately, I wouldn't have taken such aggressive action into my education, not just with, alternative medicine, but with the spirituality, the emotionality of it all, unless, I have my back pressed against the wall, because the Western medicine doctors told me, of course, I need surgery and chop the bits and chemo and radiation. And even with that, they said I might have a 50% chance of living. But they did say to me, I can remember like it happened, last month, sitting across who I had already sought out another oncologist, gynecologist, who claimed to have one foot in Eastern medicine and one foot in Western medicine. He didn't, but he did know some things about Eastern medicine. But even he said to me, I understand when I told him I'm wanting to heal myself alternatively. I don't want to take any Western medicine route. And he said, I understand what you're trying to do, but all of my patients with your kind of cancer, the ones that try to do what you're trying to do, are dead. And he says, you won't last 2 years if you continue on this alternative medicine path. So that's what I mean by my back pressed against the wall. And of course, that was a horrible hit that I took. And took a couple of days to recover from that, but I just decided to continue on my journey. And so that journey led me into all kinds of, unbelievable kind of spiritual stories. And I heard such a great quote that really spoke to me not long ago, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's something along the lines of religion is believing because of someone else's spiritual experience. Spirituality is believing because of your own spiritual experience. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So we're sort of trained to think that religion and spirituality is something that's already happened to somebody else 2,000 years ago.
Exactly, or Buddha, or
right,
Muhammad,
right. Mm-hmm.
or Muhammad went out to the desert and had some kind of experience and came back and was telling everybody about it, and so they were actually having their experience through someone else, not necessarily their own, crazy experience, which I did. And so once that happens to you, it's impossible to ignore the rest of your life, and impossible to ignore your old beliefs or your old patterns, et cetera, et cetera. And so the whole point is that cancer was the catalyst that did that for me.
Yeah. Wow. And anything can be the catalyst, right?
Anything
can not,
yeah.
I mean, like for my sister, it was becoming a mother. That's what opened her up spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a major difference in the depth at which she understood herself in a spiritual way.
Oh yeah. I heard one recently, not too long ago. A guy in the grocery store had his experience right there in the aisle. So it can happen at any time, anywhere. They say ask and it's given. All you have to do is ask, and even if you haven't physically asked, the asking is still there within you, as it was with me. And anything can catapult you into a new experience. And it's really just rediscovering who you truly are.
Your true nature. As a spiritual being. Who happens to be in a body at this particular time.
Exactly.
And in this body that needs to be taken care of properly.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even for those who, because I came at it from a very kind of staunch physics attitude. The one thing I did do okay with, in my life was physics, and always had a passion for it. So I went at it hardcore physics. And that's how I actually stumbled into now, my new spiritual path started with the Essenes. The Essenes who wrote the Dead Sea Scrolls. Jesus Christ was an Essene. But the Essenes, and I was lucky here in Los Angeles, there was a seminary of the Essenes. And they're all over the place. They're actually scattered all over the place. And each one is diverse and different, Now, and because if we think we've gotten things messed up in the past 2,000 years on, the teachings of Jesus Christ, the Essenes have been around for 7,000 years. Mm-hmm. So, but, the core sort of, I got lucky. I stumbled into something, a certain sector that, the core understanding was still there. And the Essenes have always, as Christ did, they approached spirituality through physics. Meaning everything, if you agree with Einstein, even everything is energy is, the bottom line, starting right there and getting a true understanding of energy taking different shapes and forms. And there's just as much, there's a gazillion times more non-physical energy as there is physical energy, and starting to wrap your head around that again and kind of getting back to those basics, which we all knew when we first came through. And, just playing the game of life and survival, we've, so many of us in Western culture have forgotten that information. I've traveled around the world and I've studied with different cultures. Now, there are a lot of cultures who are constantly underlining and reminding their children of that. There's a lot of cultures, and people talk now, these things, they teach you how to be clairvoyant. That's the first thing, and that's what appealed to me, is they'll sit you down and teach you how to be once again clairvoyant, because you were when you came through. And what I loved what they said is, we'll just show you how to be clairvoyant again, and don't listen to us, you look for yourself. Mm-hmm. And so they teach you how to open that sixth chakra and how to start, seeing non-physical energy again and all these different energies, and then you decide what you're seeing. So I really liked that. I liked that nobody was going to tell me what I was supposed to be doing or thinking or believing or a story or anything like that. So that really appealed to me. And, the clairvoyancy falls under the guise of being psychic, which the definition, or the Essenes teach us, the definition of psychic is just soul information. And so, going on from there, there's clairvoyant, which is your sixth chakra, your third eye, and so many different, philosophies and cultures around the world really use that, that third eye and adorn it and things like that. And then there's clairaudient, which is like you, and everybody's clairaudient. You all are clairaudient, whether you want to believe it or not. Do you wake up in the morning hearing these voices? A lot of them are saying, you're not doing this right, and you're not doing that right, or you have to do this, or you have to do that. I heard from another philosopher, it was very funny. Somebody was asking this particular philosopher, I hear it, and I didn't do this right, and I didn't do that right. They say, that is not the universe speaking to you. That is your mother.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So you hear, and so you learn to distinguish, the different voices, and they do have different tones and certainly different messages, and where that, where those voices are coming from. And then just to finish off the thought form, clairsentient, which you guys all are clairsentient, because the good old, quote, my gut instinct, or the good old, intuition, or I just had that intuition, or female intuition. So we're all clairsentient too. And a lot of people follow their gut. A lot, it was a gut decision and turned out right. That's clairsentience. You're feeling through your solar plex. You're feeling, what's the right move, what's the wrong move, blah, blah, blah. So I really encourage all this big speech, big boring speech probably, is all that I was encouraged to reawaken those. And it was from those three areas is where I started to make my decisions on whether I should drink this juice or that juice, take this supplement or that supplement. And then the big one wrapped around that is that fear itself is an energy. And you can learn how to deal with the fear energy and how to dispose of it and disperse it very, very quickly. And that's the problem with cancer, is that we are so, once you really take a look at it, we are so programmed into fear, especially this country, because somebody, and, they were brilliant, they figured it out, put these masses in fear and they will consume. We're the largest consuming, nation in the world. We're probably the largest fear-based. Well, that's a broad statement. I'm going to take that back because there are some other arenas that are worse. But we're big advertisers, and most advertising is all about to put you into some kind of fear so you will consume their product. Yeah. And a great exercise is just to watch. We used to do this all the time. If you're watching the television and the first, advertisement that comes up, okay, what are you trying to sell me? Okay, what are you trying to sell me? Okay, what are you trying to sell me? And I also was in a study group for a couple of years, and some of you I know have read this book called A Course in Miracles. And it really is a course. You really do have to do these exercises. And a great exercise is, when you go out amongst your day, you take a little pad and paper with you, and you keep that with you always. And we had to write down every time we saw something, the written word, or heard something on the radio that was based, the basis of it was to instill fear. And I can't even tell you how many things. I mean, I was going through full notebooks in a week doing this exercise, but it really woke me up to, and we all should kind of wake up to be like, oh my goodness. And, I just want to say one little side note on that one as well is I don't watch the news very often, you know what I mean, because that's always trying to instill fear. I briefly look at it to keep up on what's going on out there in the world, but I happen to stumble across a sort of a political talk show about, the terrorists and the terrorist attack, which is, just awful. But I was so proud of them because they said what these terrorist groups are really doing is they're attacking us with fear. And I was just very pleased that these people, these news broadcasters were willing, not just able, but willing to share that information and bring that, do you see what I'm saying, up into the light, in the front of everyone's consciousness. That's just a little Cynthia thing, but I was like, well, at least we're making progress, at least we're talking about that. But that's really all, the whole cancer thing has just gotten so out of control. And, every other day I have somebody approach me and, torn within themselves because they're scared to death. And, the first thing we're programmed to do is just run to chemo. But it's gotten out so much now. I hear every day, cancer didn't kill my mother, the chemo did, and we're all hearing it more and more and more. And so it's a great time because it was very different than 20 years ago when I was trying to do this. So the consciousness has really expanded, but there's always a sort of little devil in there because people are aware that chemo does not, yield the results, that it's claiming to, but yet they're still kind of stuck in fear, not, willing to 100% go the alternative route.
If I could go back in time and be with you in that office when your doctor told you all the people that were doing alternative stuff are dead, I would have asked him, what about the people who did what you told them to do?
You know what? I wish
because
I
think they're dead too.
Unfortunately, I wasn't that sharp to ask him that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's like, time can teach you the best questions that I should. And it's all those doctors that I went to that I would like to ask these questions who tried to fool me, into taking drugs just to suppress my symptoms, which would never even help me. So, yep. And I think we talked a little bit about this before. I don't think it's because doctors don't care. It's because they're trained, number one, that they are God, they know the deal. And number two, they're taught on dead bodies, not on living people. And then they also, the textbooks and everything that they study is produced by Big Pharma. So it's completely geared towards just drugging us instead of, some drugs can help your body heal itself. But
Yes.
but there's so much of modern medicine now that is just suppression of symptoms. There's no
Yes.
assistance there in any other way except for just let's suppress them and then you can ignore them, which makes the problem worse because, or it doesn't, at the very least, doesn't help it. But a lot of times
Right.
will make it worse because you're suppressing your symptoms so you don't know what's really going on with your body.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, on that one, it's not 100% suppressed. So it's still back there because, everything is set in this time-space reality. Everything is set on vibration and frequency. And so it's not completely dormant because, a lot of times if you can make that vibration completely dormant and embrace total well-being, you can be cured overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It's been said by the great ones who I listen to, you can have every deadly disease in your body and overnight your body can be healed. And with the consciousness and with the positive thoughts and waking to the positive thoughts. Now, we know this to be true as it seems, and everybody, I hope, really grasps this one, because this is where I'm going off into. I teach more about cell intelligence and the cell's relationship with the non-physical energy or the source energy, whatever, word label you would feel comfortable placing on there. But there is this relationship, and going to all of the scenes and Reiki masters, and, I went to all of these different people researching when I was ill, and even some very controversial ill ones like, Maikari and, those ones, but they were doing stuff.
Diane Stein? And, have you heard of
what's
Diane?
That?
Have you heard of Diane Stein, the Reiki master?
No, I have not.
Well,
yeah.
She taught me, but go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. We'll talk a little more about Reiki, though, when you're done with this.
Well, we're all doing, as an esteem myself, we're all after the same thing. There is some kind of healing energy out there, and we're all after it, is all I'm saying. And it's great. All of these, again, different and individualized approaches to embracing this healing energy that is unlimited, available to everyone. I went to witch doctors in Africa after the same energy, had some fantastic results over there. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, that abounds. But the thing to really hang on to is Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins talks about this all the time, about cell intelligence, and that some of the patients with multiple personality disorder, their eyes will change from bright blue to brown when they shift personalities within the space of 5 minutes. So right there, that is, you can't argue that one, that the cells have the intelligence to be able to, morph themselves. That energy can change like that. So that's how powerful that is. So that's what I'm always like with the people that I work with all the time. I'm constantly reminding that, and that, the cells have the intelligence to heal themselves. And really that's what they're doing. I talk about in my book as far as, juicing and the supplements that I take, and taking the ASEA and the alkaline and the meditation, all of those are just training wheels for the consciousness. That's all they are. But they're great. I'm not saying do them. But what you're really doing is training your consciousness, reprogramming yourself. Because the minute we come out of the womb, and probably in the womb as well, many talk about that. The program starts. Meaning like someone else's belief system is being instilled in you, and not willingly, it's just being kind of forced upon us. So it's good to remember those things and to take the facts. That's what helped me a great deal. When I say healing is mind, body, and spirit, the mind part was learning these facts, restudying my physics, moving forward with that, studying all of that. That shifts and alters the belief system dramatically. So, and the belief system is one of the most powerful things in the universe. So these patients whose eyes were turning brown to blue, blue to brown, they so 100%, wholeheartedly believed it. So the command itself, the cells said, okay, if this is what you want, I'll do it. You see? Yeah.
Yeah, I have an interesting story to tell you about that, about some like miraculous sort of
Oh, yeah.
overnight change. I started having issues with fibroids and adenomyomas on my uterus when I was like in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And so I dealt with that. I at 25 they gave me Lupron, which turned off my pituitary gland and put me in temporary early menopause, so,
Oh, dear.
to shrink the fibroid because it was too big even to operate on, and they were trying to save my uterus.
Right.
So that, I all kinds of things happened that I think should have happened later when I really went through menopause, as far as like my spiritual understanding of things, and it was like too soon. Like I'm still processing a lot of the things that happened to me.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, okay, so it shrunk down, and then I had a myomectomy, and they said, oh, you'll get pregnant now. I didn't get pregnant for like another, I don't know, 10, 15 years after that. But
Oh, my.
yeah. And then after that, they were like, well, you probably aren't going to get pregnant. But so fast forward, I miraculously have a baby. And
Right.
then when they did the C-section, I had a fibroid, a big tumor, while I was pregnant with him. And so it was like being pregnant with twins. It was like him and the
Oh,
tumor.
dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they said when you're pregnant, you have twice as much blood flowing through your body. And then when you're pregnant with a fibroid, you have like 3 times as much of a blood supply. So they
Oh, my.
can't, when they do a C-section, they can't take the fibroid out. They just have to like put you back together as quickly as possible.
Right.
So years after he was, I think he was maybe about 4 or 5 years old, I had or it didn't go away. So I still had that same tumor from when I was pregnant with him. And they were like, we're really gonna have to take this out. And I think it was the 3rd time that they tried to take my uterus. And I said, I really don't want to give up my girly parts at all. I think there's another way here. And I called my brother, Pete, who, my adopted brother, on Rosebud, and he's a sun dancer. And I said, I really don't want to, I'm going to go through, I had this ultrasound, and they were like, yeah, it's pretty big there. We're going to have to take it out. It was about the size of a grapefruit. And I told him about it. He's like, I'm going to a sweat tonight with my Sundance brothers. We'll pray for you. And 2 weeks later, I go to get another ultrasound before the surgery, and that grapefruit-sized tumor was now the size of a pea, and it was calcified and died. So it had no
Right.
more blood supply. It couldn't, grow anymore.
Right. Right.
And I called him and I told him, and I was like overjoyed, and he was like, wow, he said the spirits really took care of you.
Yes.
And they did. They really, really
Yes.
did. And I'm thinking about how you're talking about energy, and that's really what the spirits are too. Is their energy forces that.
I have a question for you. With that tumor now, even after your baby was born, were you in pain? Were you feeling a lot of pain?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, I had other types of pain, but not from the tumor at all.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and the reason I ask that is that, the pain is a pain. It actually, honestly, pain is a very good thing, because what that is the cells are telling us that we are in some sort of resistance. Pain is the cells not being able to summon the, life force energy, the healing energy, all of those things that we've been talking about. So in that sense, it's great. And, there's actually a very good meditation about, dealing with the pain, and you kind of flip it on its back, in the sense saying that, this is a good thing. My body is my best friend, and my body is speaking to me, and so many people, that's the problem though, is that a lot of people do have a complete understanding of that, and yet still, and I've done it too, complete understanding, but yet, not being able to get out of the way and let, over a quick amount of time, letting those cells do what they're supposed to do, like getting out of the way. So, there's a little bit of a catch to that pain. And also I bring that up. So it's very interesting because if whatever your ailment is and you're in pain, after you acknowledge the pain and you say your body is your best friend and I'm getting out of the way and I'm going to let, these cells and my inner being or my inner spirit or whatever, again, the word label is, I'm getting out of the way. They know how to take care of this. Cells, you know what to do. Inner being, you know what to do. I'm out. That's a great little speech to give to yourself if you're in pain and you're going to sleep at night. You all know what you're doing, cells. You know what you're doing, inner being. You know what you're doing. I'm out. I'm out of here. I'm going to go play on the astrals, and I'm going to sleep. But also, people say I'm so anti-chemical. In some cases, the pain medication is a good thing to get you out of that pain.
Yes.
Because what happens is law of attraction kicks in, and not for the good on this one. So the continual noticing the pain, do you see what I'm saying? And so, if you're taking pain medication, just be aware of all of those factors. I'm taking this medication right now because I can't get out of my own way and I need some help. Now that's where the chemicals do serve, as long as you're very clear about it. So, I understand all of that. And, but I've had my own personal experiences, in my late teens, early 20s, chronic migraines, unbelievable, lasting days and days and days. And so I did, and I didn't believe in anything back then, but I did do the emotional work, and I was working with a psychologist, not a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and all of that. And I had an experience where I was just, in the midst of a migraine that was just so unbelievable, like I would begin to lose the motor control of my tongue. And in those days, I was speaking a lot back then, and I was the actor and the whole nine, I needed my tongue. And it had gotten so bad. And then I remembered just this moment where I just, kind of released everything and went to the bathroom and then came back out and walking back to an office door, and I'm like, my migraine's gone. What is going on? And so I was lucky enough to have my own experience that it can, so what I said to myself in that moment, even though I didn't even know, I was so young and I was not a bright young person, trust me. So I'm still trying to get through Green Eggs and Ham. That's a tough read right there. That's a difficult book. I don't know whether he ate the green eggs and ham or not. Don't tell me. I don't want to know the answer.
Okay.
Okay,
we'll ruin it.
Don't ruin it for me. So you get my point.
Yeah.
But I was wise enough at that young age to go, okay, that pain, these migraines are an illusion, is what I said to myself. Not the best language, but I knew what I was talking about. And so I was like, I get it. And from then right after that, I stumbled upon an outside cure, meaning a food group that would cure migraines. And I've been giving that out for more than 20 years. And it works up to like, I'd say 85, 95%, migraine sufferers, it works for them as well. So yeah, that little inclination of mine to seek out alternative medicine had been there for quite a while, without me even knowing it. And it does go back to sort of folk remedies. And so many of those really, really work, going back to those basics. Really, going to someone who's experimented with the combination of the different foods and the herbs and the this and the that, they do work. I mean, aspirin is derived from a plant. You know what I'm saying? So, those do work tremendously. And the simple little remedy I have for my migraines, unbelievable that it works, but it works so most of the time. So all that to say that, back to being on the pain medication, it just tell yourself and be aware of what's really going on. I'm taking this medication so I can get out of my own way and let my body do the healing process. And I'll tell you something also about Western medicine. It's so interesting. Now, I grew up as a ballerina. I got into gymnastics, ice skating. I was falling, breaking things all the time, mostly just ribs or toes, something like that. And not too long ago, believe it or not, I did a stupid thing. I just tripped and fell, and I broke my arm.
Oof.
And yeah, after all of falling off the beams and the bars and being dropped by my ballet partners, but it was a really extraordinary experience because my friends became, like just so paranoid and rushed me to the hospital, which I never would have done on my own. But what was so interesting to me there is that the nurses and whatnot, and then it was very painful. So I have nothing but empathy for those who are in pain. I just got a new little lesson at this dear old age of pain. But I was truly, truly grateful for it. And what was so interesting to me, now I'm in a hospital, Western medicine, and all of the nurses kept saying to me, and the doctor who looked at it, they're like, it's okay, it will heal, it's going to heal, it's okay. They said it'll heal in about 6 weeks completely, it will heal. And I'm like, why aren't you telling your cancer patients that? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question. And as you're talking, I'm thinking it's really all about unmet needs. So when we're looking at the physical part, we have to figure out where our nutritional deficiencies are, work on that. Our emotional unmet needs, right? We got to work on that. Our spiritual unmet needs, the ways that have kept us from developing spiritually, got to work on that. And let's see, what other kinds of needs are there? It seems like that's what it's all down to. Really identifying those and working on them on all fronts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the thing. The last time I've been a guest a couple of times on Dr. Coldwell's show, and who's just brilliant. And he blew me away. We were on air live, and he blew me away with something. He said something, and I'm going to have to agree with it, at least for me and some of the other cancer patients that I'm looking at. What Dr. Coldwell said was that, and he's, a total alternative guy and alternative medicine. But what he said that cancer is subconscious suicide. And it really hit me. Because I did go through that talk with myself over days of like, am I doing this to myself? Do I want out of here? Is this my exit point? Do I want to, move on? And I encourage everyone that I work with, sooner or later, you have to have that conversation. And you don't have to have a quick answer. Now, nobody wants to talk about this, I know, and this makes everyone uncomfortable. But, it's good to unveil that energy that is active and it's sitting there. And so if you work with me, eventually I am going to ask you that question, not to answer to me, but to talk to yourself about that. And honestly, even though on the outside, my career was starting to pick up as an actor, and I was on the soap opera. I had just gotten off the soap opera, and I was getting these movie offers, which is what I wanted to do. And I was getting theater offers, which theater is my favorite. So I really wanted to do those, different plays and whatnot. But so from the outside, everything looked, just perfect and peachy. But I was miserable, and I kind of, because of my misery, I surrounded myself with some people who just did not have my best interest at heart. And I know we've all heard that Hollywood story a million times.
Sure.
And I got caught in it too. And, just didn't keep my eyes open, and I wasn't aware that that was already going on, that I was constantly being fed off of, and it was just depleting me. So, so the way but I take full responsibility for it. And, that's the way I set my life up with the people that were around me. And then just being so miserable inside of that, I could say, I might have, on some kind of conscious level, allowed this to happen to myself. And maybe I was trying to get my exit out of the situation. And so, or if, that situation, I'm thinking of one person that I work with in particular, the home life is just not working for her. Doesn't mean she has to leave, but she does have to make a lot of spiritual and vibrational adjustments so that it will work for her. Does that make any sense at all?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, that was a big part of it. Just highlighting what you said, what were my needs? None of my spiritual, obviously, emotional needs, and, and the physical needs, here's the big one, was that I was a vegetarian. And I was an actor. I had to be 100 pounds, you know what I'm saying? Right. But I was not one starving myself to death. I was eating, very, very healthy foods. And so, but, and there's, I know a lot of discrepancy on like how healthy that diet really was. Right, but, looking at Maine America, you know what I'm saying? My diet was much healthier than, a lot of, people and, their intake for sure. Mm-hmm. So, but this is really important too, because I didn't realize that I could be an inspiration for others when I cured myself of cancer, first of all. But then the second big, home run happened years later, which I didn't even dawn on me, is that I've never had a reoccurrence. Yeah. And we're seeing these reoccurrences because, even with alternative medicine, most people now, their first approach is to go to the alkaline diet, which is great. You're setting up your body, you know what I'm saying, to dismiss of, the cancer cells. So fantastic, perfect. But they'll stop short at that. And they don't do the emotional work, or they don't do, the spiritual work, and then we see these reoccurrences start to happen. And, that's become a kind of a big problem now, even in the alternative alternative medicine world. It's a big kink. And, the thing is that somebody, an Essene, who was one of my dearest friends ever, she worked on me when I had cancer. Hands-on healer. She worked on me. And then she contracted breast cancer. This is going about, I might be going back 7 years now, at least 5 for sure. Let's say that 5 years ago. So she knew exactly what to do. We all knew what was going on. We all worked with her, all of the Essenes, and she did the diet, and she came back with a clean bill of health. And then she kind of went on her merry way, and I kind of lost touch with her. And about a year and a half later, I get the news that she died. She crossed over. Mm-hmm. And huge shock from someone like she knows better than that. Why did that happen? She knows better than that. But there was just something in her that was unwilling to take that next spiritual step and sort of live that life of so much invalidation, which breast cancer isn't even breast cancer. Breast cancer is self-invalidation and being invalidated by others, which is another huge disease in Western culture, especially in this country. Yeah, of women doing everything now, and having to take care of everyone and feeling guilty if they do the smallest thing for themselves. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. We all do that. We're all guilty of it. We all fall into that at one point or another. Mm-hmm. And that's the onslaught of breast cancer. And she was doing it the same. But the point being is that what she, when she was on her healing path, things were great. And then the minute she got her clean bill of health, she went right back to not just the behavior, but the attitude and the vibration that made her sick in the first place. Mm. Yeah. And I've over the years doing radio and talked to so many people, and the first thing they want to go to is, well, I kind of sloughed off on my diet. Well, no, it's not just the diet. And we have to be careful in the alternative world that the diet and the alkaline diet is fantastic, and yes, it does work, but it's not, some people are kind of leaning back over to it was the pill that made me better, right. And then you see what I'm saying, and trying to blast everyone with just an alkaline diet. That's a great jump start on your path to healing, but there are these other things that you have to do, the emotional work and the spiritual. Work is a horrible word. I hate that word. Yeah. The exercises, and the loving, the self-loving.
Meeting those needs and allowing yourself to meet those needs. And the big part is trauma. And so, that's something we don't want to deal with, understandably so. And, and that's such a huge part of that allowing, of that, you just have to I was just talking to a friend the other day on Facebook about it, because we were all reading an article about how trauma affects you
Oh, yes.
later in life, and how it really has so much to do with not completing goals and tasks and things like that, because you're not giving yourself permission, you're not feeling worthy, and this idea of feeling worthy of healing. So
Yes.
I just keep praying for it until it's like grace and it just descends upon you. This feeling of
Yes.
worthiness for healing. And
Well, yes.
yeah.
Well,
So
yes, that's the other when I talk about how we are so programmed into fear and we're so programmed into unworthiness, which is hideous,
yeah.
but it's true. And we're programmed the unworthiness, and, I'm going to piss some people off, but I'm going to say it. It's inbred in a lot of religions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I had a problem with. If we are all spirit, and we are all part of this energy that's called God, but only men can talk to God,
Right.
Oh, and I am referencing a certain, religion. Only men
Yes.
can talk to God. You know what I'm saying? Now, I study history as well, and a lot of theology. So I do understand that was just over 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. That was kind of in many cultures the status quo, and that women were more like cattle. They weren't, and that just goes in the whole realm of the animal kingdom. The larger sex always dominates the smaller sex, meaning like bees, especially
Right.
in the insects. There's a lot of females, black widow spiders and praying mantises. That's just the way this time-space reality is set up. So that I'm okay with all of that. I'm just saying now it's time to sort of unravel that old program that never should have been there in the first place, meaning that, specifically women are unworthy. But unworthiness is rampant with everyone.
Right.
So that's such a big one. And
It's a huge one. Yeah, huge.
yes, it's one of the biggest stumbling blocks there is, even to like financial well-being, or, allowing romantic love and having a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful partner in your life. It all goes to, and it's a very stubborn program. So, and one way out of that is if you do believe, in that you are spirit in a body to some degree, whether it's on an energy level or what have you, whatever you want to call it, and that is part of the universal energy that creates worlds, then how can you be unworthy? And that really punches when you think about that. It punches, I do it too. It punches a big hole in it. I say to myself, like, wait a second, because I do believe I'm some part of this, great consciousness, unlimited, intelligence, ultimate. There's some part of me so how can I be unworthy? Because that's kind of like saying, well, God's unworthy. And I'm like,
yeah.
Cynthia, that doesn't make any sense. So that helps, but you have to remind yourself. I mean, I really think now, because, I think all of life is just reminding, Deepak Chopra says all the time, he goes, I don't teach people. He says, I just remind them of what they've forgotten.
Yeah.
Which is a good one. Yeah. And like I said, especially now it's even harder because we're so bombarded. I don't know. I don't think in the past 5 years I've seen a teenager's face, because it's always down into the cell phone.
Right.
Yeah. And there's so much so it's even worse with the computer and these brilliant phones that we have. We are so bombarded by this program, and so recognizing what is the threads within that. One of the big ones is unworthiness, and that was again taught so that we would give money to a certain religious sector, or that we could be controlled, or all of those things.
And that we need, and that our spiritual journeys are squashed and stunted.
Yeah.
So that's what religion does for us too. But yet we find these amazing mystics in every religion, regardless. And we just have to remember that we all have that inner mystic, and we all have that inner prophet within us. And so it's up to us to have our own revelation in the here and the now.
Yes.
Back for the second hour, a few minutes. Stick around.
Okay, I'll be here.
Welcome back to the second hour of The Bridge with Kira. I'm your host, Kira Young, and I've been talking today to Cynthia Brooks. Are you there?
Oh, I'm here, yeah.
Excellent.
Definitely.
And we've been talking about healing. We've been having a really, really good discussion about healing and all of the needs that you need to start meeting when you decide to walk down this healing path.
Yes.
And we're going to have another friend join us who was with us last time we spoke. Let me see if we can get her on the line. Lisa Smith, who her journey started with multiple chemical sensitivity. And that's how she started her path. And she started listening to your show. And that's how all that got started. And so we're going to have her join us for the second hour.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Cool.
Right.
Lisa.
Huh?
You there?
Huh?
Can't quite hear you too good. You there, Lisa?
I
I don't think that's the right number. My
Poor
goodness.
friend, he's on the radio and he doesn't know it.
Oops. Okay, let me try that again.
Well,
I thought she was joking with us.
Can I just jabber for a second?
Sure.
Well, the two things I just wanted to get in there before, we go on to other topics too, is that I just want to clarify, and this is important for everyone, and some people know and some people are quite wanting to know, is when I said that my path was not, curing cancer, but finding my God. But actually the big question, and once you really get this, you'll really understand it. The big question is, what happens to me when I die?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I really started researching, because I wanted to know, because I was going to die. I did the well-educated, Rhodes Scholars, Harvard grads said I was going to die. And I'm like, well, geez, I was brought up that, you do what people tell you to and you go to heaven. And if you don't, you go to hell. And I was a rebel. So I kind of assumed I was on my way to hell. I mean, I never did anything horrible, but I did steal a piece of candy as a child from the grocery store, and you know what I'm saying? That's breaking one of the 10 Commandments. So, I kind of wanted to figure that out, and I'm in humor about it, and it's best to stay in humor about it, but to really research. And again, the great ones say, I've heard so many of the great ones say this all the time, is that you really can't even begin to live until you let go of your fear of death. Now, some people, they're awesome. Whatever they believe in, they believe wholeheartedly. They believe that the spirit goes on, and they thrive, But for me, somebody else telling me wasn't good enough. I had to find it out on my own. And so, that's so much research of what is non-physical energy? What is the spirit really? Do you see what I'm saying? Those kind of things. And really researching that and trying to find out for myself. And to be patient, because we understand things intellectually very quickly. We're very smart beings, all of us. But to let that start resting emotionally, and again, kind of getting it in your gut as a knowing, is a whole different thing. And to be patient with that and let it rest and let the information assimilate until, it goes to the core of your being and you have this full understanding of it. And, I tell everybody asks me this now. I'm 99.9999999 sure, but I tell everyone I'm not ever going to know 100% until I die, and then I'll come back and tell y'all what really goes on. And then only other thing is that, speaking of the unworthiness and whatnot, unworthiness or not deserving, all of those things, really the way to kind of blast holes in that is to go and reach for unconditional love and what that really is. We're told, and I do believe this, that from non-physical, the non-physical is spirits around us, that's complete unconditional love. And we're so capable of that. And the most important thing is the unconditional love of yourself and loving yourself unconditionally. That is such a fast healing path, healing so many different things. Not, financial well-being, relationship, of course, health, finding that unconditional love, which really means no conditions, no matter what, I love you, is a huge one to practice. And I love myself. And I don't know I think there's a lot of people out there that are guilty of one of my big bugaboos is like the beating up on yourself, and I was raised with that. It's never good enough. You didn't do it quite right. Not good enough. You shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have said that. All of that chatter, all of that stuff, it was quite a disease with me. I still have to battle it, when it comes up. I'm like, okay, who's this talking to me? Because I'm just not going to listen to that anymore. People I respect more than this voice are telling me that I'm spirit and that, I'm and to love myself unconditionally. If we all practiced that, the self-love, unconditional self-love, if we all practice that a little bit more, the whole world would not be in the condition that it is. The whole world would shift.
Right. Yeah. And you know how this plays out in our public conversation is that real knowledge about narcissism, malignant narcissism, or personality disorders, cluster Bs, that kind of turns into shaming normal people who don't have personality disorders for real steps towards self-love. Do you see what I'm saying here? Is that our whole definition of what narcissism actually is gets shifted around because it's actually the narcissists who are controlling that, or who are, controlling the narrative about what these personality issues really mean. And so when people, make these moves towards real self-love, unconditional self-love and healing, then they get shamed for it,
Yes.
So that's why I like when I see people, with their selfies and stuff, I'm like, right on. It's not narcissistic to take a flattering picture of yourself and put it out there. It's not. It's just not. It's okay to be like, I'm having a good hair day and I want you all to see it. It's okay to do that. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's not okay to idealize, devalue, and discard every relationship you've ever had. That's not okay. But taking a selfie, don't even worry about it. Put it up there. Looking good.
Our English language has distorted so much, and so much of it is derived from Greek. And I actually, two different things. The Essenes are very, very big while they're, you're studying with them to look up not only the true definition of the word, but also what is the Greek derivation of that word. And also, for years I studied with a brilliant man named Milton Sellis at the Beverly Hills Playhouse. And there they were huge on looking up the words. So, that's really just become a part of my life, and it's always fascinating and interesting. And also how, for example, I loved Greek mythology, and it's still so, talking about, Narcissus, such a part of our sort of language still, and referencing, for example, Oedipus Rex, he was, his supposed quote unquote sin was not having sex with his mother because he didn't know who his mother was. His sin, quote unquote, was because as his caravan was going down a road and his father's caravan was coming down another one, he was too prideful to move his caravan to the side and let this other king pass. He wouldn't do that. So he didn't even see that it was his father and that his destination would lead to his mother. Do you see what I'm saying? So bottom line is, his sin was pride, not, incest. But you all see my point, how it got so twisted. And even with certain words, a lot of different words, I was brought up in a household that, the word desire meant sex, and that was bad. My mother, God love her, but she had so much twisted sexual guilt, sexual energy and sexual guilt, and that was, instilled on her and instilled on her mother, blah, 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 down the line, instilled on me. Sex was bad. So he didn't use the word desire. Well, I was at a seminar and I was there with someone who spoke Greek, and he got up and just gave us the simple definition. And I've talked about this a lot, and I've gotten misquoted a lot. So the quote is that desire, when you break it up, de means of, sire means the father up above. So, like S-I-R-E, sire, like king or something like that. But sire was mostly used in Greek, speaking of God. So desire means of the father. So if you have a desire, that is coming from, God, which you also are a part of. And, so things like that, really, when you really start, and this is, mind, body, and spirit, and this is the mind, when you really start digging and finding the focal point, and the real point to all of this, it really breaks it down, and you really get a clear vision of how sort of distorted and twisted society and the word and, whatnot, I have become so confused. And usually now, back to the self-love, when someone says, well, she or he's narcissistic, usually it's because they're being rude to some degree about something. And someone who is in full self-love, when you fully love yourself unconditionally, then you just love everybody else unconditionally. And they're being rude is a million miles from you. It wouldn't even, dawn on you to do that when you love, we love our dog unconditionally and they love us back. That's the best example. Would you ever dream of being rude to your dog? Of course not. Of course not. And your dog would never dream of being rude to you. So you see what I'm saying is that so much of like what would be considered, talking about self-love and worthiness, always some people put such a negative a slant on that and twist it into being like narcissistic or blah, 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 blah. And, when you really look at it and dig to the bottom of it, that's not what it was meant at all.
Yeah.
That was, not the intention.
At all.
Yeah.
So let me see if I got the right number here. Poor guy that we called before.
That's awesome.
I wonder what language he was speaking
calling numbers and saying, "Hey, you're on the radio."
If we call him again, I'm going to be really embarrassed. But that would be really great to find out what language he was speaking. Hello. Hey, you got us in the background.
Oh, okay. Oh, turn that off?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Now I got that one shut. Is it going to go off? Okay, cool.
All right. Hi, Lisa. Welcome to the
Hey.
bridge.
Hi, Lisa.
I've been listening. That call was hilarious. I was thinking,
I was going to say, we called some wonderful, I think he was Hispanic. We called some Hispanic gentleman.
Yeah, ¿Cómo está usted?
Oops. Sorry about that.
That just taught me a lesson. That taught me a total lesson. If I ever pick up and I don't know that person, I might be on the radio, so I'm not going to swear at him this time.
Right. Well, and then I just got a private call, and I don't usually answer my home phone, so I'm thinking, I hope this is the right private call.
Right.
So you've been listening, and I'm sure you've been shaking your head the whole time. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I love listening to Cynthia. Yeah, I mean, it used to be great when I could hear her like twice a week, so.
Well, yeah, hopefully we'll get that going again.
Oh, absolutely. I know. But, yeah, this is a nice refresher and always learn something new tied into all of it.
You looking for a station, Cynthia?
I am inspiration, or desire. I had been doing shows since 2010, and then eventually that metamorphosized into my own show, Cancer Kickers. And there was just a lot of things that were going on at the time, and good old Vinny, you know what I mean? He was my producer. And then I really miss it. And I've been stumbling upon a lot of different stories and a lot of just new, interesting facts. And the desire swelled up inside me again. And I was like, I really would love to do the show again and get all of this new information, out there. It's things are expanding so quickly. Wonderful information. Always finding these new healing modalities and really wanting to put them out there. And also only because recently, when you're in the healing arts, it always comes in waves. It's no different. For over 10 years, I was a cocktail waitress, putting myself through school. And it would never fail that, it would be so dead. And you're like, okay, good. I can't wait to go home. I hope you're going to close up early. And then 10 million people show up at the door all at once. It always comes in waves. And right now I'm in a huge wave of a lot of new stage 4 patients are coming to me for help. And, so I always felt like the best way to spread the information so I could talk to many at once was, through radio. So a long explanation to say that desire is welled up. And I am kind of searching for, new venues and whatnot to try to re-erect that again and do it again. And plus, it's just fun, and I love talking to all of you guys, and you know what I mean? It's just a joy.
Well, I'm sure that we can get something going for you.
I would love that.
Excellent.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I will recommend you, not only to Revolution Radio, but also to People's Internet Radio. And if we've got, I'm not sure if we got slots open, but if we do, I'm sure we would love to get you in a slot and get you going, sharing your information.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The Revolution Radio is the easiest one to do because all you do is call into the studio and you're on the air, and it's like boom,
right.
That's it, you're done. Right. Whereas other stations, you have to learn the broadcasting software, and it's a little bit more complicated and stuff. So
yes.
Nighthawk does a really good job with this station, so I would highly recommend it as for hosts who are looking for.
Thank you. Well, thank you. And just nothing more than law of attraction kicks in, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm getting a lot of people. When are you going to do another show? When are you going to do another show? Kind of thing too. So you know what I mean. It's all sort of orchestrating by the cooperative components, all sort of orchestrating together. So hopefully this will bloom soon.
Yes, cool. I'm actually I love doing radio so much that I want to do it full time, and so I'm looking at ways of making that happen as well.
Awesome.
And I'm working on a pitch to a local station who's got some slots open, so just putting it out there. Woo! Yeah, I just love it. I love it enough to drive 15 miles to where I can get a signal and sit in my truck for 2 hours and talk to people. That's how much I love it.
It's funny. I want to live where you live, where there's no signal, though.
Yeah. It is a good place to live. It really, really is. The only noise really is the gunshots. That's it. Because there's a lot of rednecks where I live, and
there's a gun range behind my house.
Yeah.
Even though in the suburbs, so on Wednesday night and like on Sundays, I hear that. So. Yeah. That won't bother me. I'm kind of used to it.
Yeah, there's a gun range across the creek from me as well. So.
Yeah. Luckily, it's just Wednesdays and Sundays, because if that was all the time, oh my.
Yeah.
It would be some of that, what we were talking about, some of that Claire audio overload or something.
Claire audio overload, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I've said it before. I've been in my garden. I'm all blissed out. I'm working with my herbs. I'm hanging out with the hummingbirds, and then all of a sudden it's like pow 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 pow, and I'm like in the scene from Full Metal Jacket, and I'm like, whoa.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
It's one thing if you know you're going to shoot the gun, then you're ready for the sound. You're ready for but if you have no idea, it really does hit you kind of traumatically. So.
Right.
Oh, sure.
It starts at 6 o'clock on Wednesday. It's like, it's 6 o'clock. It's like, I know. It's funny, just as you guys were talking a minute ago, 2 doves landed right on my deck. I've never seen 2 land together, obviously male and female. It was so cool.
Love it.
Of all that nature stuff.
Yeah, and
positive energy, the law of attraction, it's all going. I feel it.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually rescued 3 animals over the last couple of weeks. A fawn. Well, my dogs disturbed a fawn because the mom left it while she was doing her thing. And so I had to put the dogs away, and I had to carry the little thing because...
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And as soon as I walked in the house with it, it started making noise, and my husband woke up out of a deep sleep, and he was like, whoa, because I'm holding this baby deer,
Oh,
wow. So I was like, don't worry, the dogs disturbed it, I'm putting them away, I'll go put it back exactly where I found it. So I did that, and the mom came and got it.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And then I found a bunny that was hopping in a circle on the side of the road, and I just couldn't leave it there with a head injury. So that bunny didn't make it, though, because somebody weed whacked it in the head. Poor thing.
Oh.
Yeah. And then a woodpecker was eating ants off of my hummingbird feeder, and then I was watering my herbs, and it showed me how it couldn't fly. It was like, look, I'm hopping up here, and I'm hopping down. I can't actually fly. So, yeah, broken wing, poor little guy. Yeah. But I'm telling you, next time I'm not bringing an animal to the shelter because they end up euthanizing it. They're like, it has another broken something, so we can't help it. I'm like, what? Yes, you can. So I've learned my lesson. I'm not taking anything there because they will euthanize it.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to learn how to take care of it myself and try to save it myself.
Right.
So
see what the intent is going to be.
Mm-hmm. But I love being where we're at. There's a price that you pay for living out there, and that's that sounds lovely to me. That sounds like a great price. I love it.
I'm trying to figure out. My daughter has this cat. I know Cynthia knows about my cat, but I have a neighbor cat that's fighting with it. I don't know that much about cats. I mean, really fighting with it. It got on a fight on my deck rail, and our cat went over the deck rail, and it's a long distance down. And the cat's been in the house, not well for 2 or 3 weeks, and he finally started feeling better. And he went out last night, and he got the fur just pouring off of him, and now he's barely functioning again.
Oh.
So nature, and I don't know cats, and I don't know why this cat is trying to kill our cat when our cat isn't even leaving our deck anymore.
Territorial.
I guess, right. And then I was glad because right before this happened to the cat went out and brought home a bird, so that wasn't fun. I was like, that's what they do? They bring home birds? Nice.
Yep. Yes, that is what they do. It's a present for you. It's an offering.
All that nature stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a deer here down at the end of my yard that passed away, maybe Carr, last fall. So I got to watch that all winter. I'm sure you've seen that out in the woods, too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, nature. Do we get off topic of all the spiritual?
That's all right. I'm sure it fits in perfectly with everything else. It is.
Yeah.
It's a jungle out there, and it's a jungle in here.
That's right.
There you go. That's how it all tied together.
Perfectly. Yeah.
I think because I'd rather have the jungle of the animals than the jungle of the humans.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that ties in with the cluster bees, right? Because they're the ones who have taught us not to love ourselves.
Yes.
So we're learning how to do that again. And it's become a cultural issue because they're the ones running things. They're the ones who are controlling the narrative that we get to see in the media. And
Right.
And when you're raised with it, that becomes your internal narrative as well. So we're fighting these things on the inside and the outside, and trying to allow ourselves to do what they can do. The magic that's always available to us.
Yes.
If we can just allow it.
Yes.
And they know that too. They know that.
Yes.
Yeah. And they know that we have more capacity for allowing than they do. But they want us on the same level as them, which is no compassion, prefrontal cortex turned off. Ding.
Right.
So they
just feed off our fear.
Yeah. Feed off our fear and consume.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I did want to ask you both what you think about. There's so many new cancer and autoimmune treatments coming out, and there's a lot more that we know now about herbs, cannabis, other herbs. Even dandelion. All kinds of edible and medicinal weeds and things like that. This information that's coming out. What do you think that we need to do basically to keep us from thinking that it's the substance rather than the spirit? So with these plants, they have a spirit as well. And it's really the spirit of the plant that's helping you to heal. Not the physical substance of it, although that's a component. But you know where I'm going with this?
Well, absolutely. And I would say, actually, call it an energy, energy life force. Even back 20 years ago, the one person, a physicist and microscopist who was really not 100% responsible, but certainly put my feet upon a path, and just a dear spirit. And wonderful man. Even back then, he was teaching me about seed and seed technology. So I had to be, at that time, had to be on such a strict diet. But of course, I could eat some kinds of lettuce. And he was already teaching me to take flaxseed and put it in a coffee grinder and, pour that over my lettuce as a dressing. And even back then, but now getting into, so much like the seed technology and the energy behind that. And what's fascinating is, we still don't understand that in a sense. What is that life force in the tomato seed, And you should, if you want to see Cynthia hit the ceiling, when I'm watching my cooking shows and they're taking the seeds out of tomatoes, I'm like, what are you doing?
You need that.
That's a little bit more
watermelons. You can't even find the watermelons with seeds in them anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's exactly what you want. So it's fascinating science, but more and more. And so the energy behind that. And years ago, I got involved with through on a radio show when I was co-hosting with somebody else, and they had a physicist and a scientist on there talking about the all of the technology that we're understanding about the flower. And the flower gets attacked by everything and everyone, and it has this incredible sort of immune system and defense system within it, and how important it is to take things like, I'm a big proponent of parent omega-6s, which is like evening primrose, you know what I'm saying? And borage, I took both borage flower. That was better for me than the evening primrose, but evening primrose works so well, in treating and curing so much, especially inflammation. And we know what a biggie that is, and what, a nasty thing. And, it wreaks so much havoc and so many different diseases and whatnot. And just the whole science behind that is absolutely fascinating.
It really is. And I was thinking about what you're talking about with the seeds, is that that's so much potential in this tiny little, the seed is
Look
the
what it
tree.
does.
Yeah. I mean, it's everything in this tiny little, and I remember my mother talking about this when I was a child and just being completely in awe about the seed. She just, wow, because that is the tree. It's just not there yet. And then and that's also our physical clue to how everything is happening all at once. How the seed is the seed and the seed is the tree in the future, but the future is now and the past is now. It's Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The fascinating things that we still don't understand, but we're using them as remedies. I mean, scientists, they still cannot figure out the whole process of what a tree does and takes sunlight and turns that into energy. And everybody is digging inside of it to try to use it as, you know what I'm saying, a power source. And of course we're using solar energy to a certain degree. But that whole process yet, we still don't have a full understanding of it. And just yesterday I recommended somebody taking royal jelly. Another one. We still don't understand what it is about royal jelly,
right,
that makes it. And for those who don't know, royal jelly is just simple like bee pollen, but the royal jelly, that's what the queen bee makes for her successor, and that, the bee itself grows, the queen bee grows 4 times the size of a regular bee, lives, I think it's 4 times as long as well. There's some kind of property in that energy, and I've been taking royal jelly forever. I mean, it's really quite an energy booster for nothing else, because I would work such long hours on set, and somebody, I think it was just a crew member who introduced me to that, and he always had all this energy, and I'm like, God, we're already on our 15th hour, and so he gave me this little vial of royal, jelly, and I just wigged it down. It was just like, and I'm very sort of, I love coffee, but I can't drink very much of it. I'm very sort of hyper internally as it is, so I can't take ginseng. I should try, maybe, because I will be the first woman on the moon. I mean, that's how sensitive I am to it.
I am too.
So, so I have to watch all of that. It was just a wonderful, like, fresh energy. It wasn't nervous or yucky or ginsengy or any of that junk. It was just like I had just slept a beautiful 8 hours, and I got this whole new wave of energy. So, what I mean, there's so much that, we still don't even understand the process and how it's made. That's fascinating, but it's here, readily available for us to use, for sure.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
It really is.
It's a miracle.
I love my superfoods.
Superfoods.
I just bought some bee pollen.
Did you? I started growing...
Hemp seed's one of my favorite seeds because it has all of the omegas and the inflammatory properties and stuff.
Which seed, Lisa? I didn't hear you.
Hemp seed?
Oh, hemp seed, yeah.
Hemp seed, yeah.
And it's...
Dandelion's a must every day for me and for my liver detox.
Yeah. That's... I just started growing moringa. I don't know if you have any...
Yeah, no, I have some moringa too. I'm not fond of the taste of it, but I've heard fabulous things about it. Yeah.
We have
but maybe it's the brand that I have. I'm sure yours is probably better because it's fresh.
Yeah, I just picked it right off the plant and put it in my salad.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, I would love that too. Because I usually do the maca, the green tea maca. So I'm doing that to then just do the between the dandelion and the maca to throw in the moringa. Sometimes that's hard.
Yeah.
If I had leaves to put in my salad or throw in a smoothie, that'd be great.
Heck yeah. But it's a warm weather plant, so you need a greenhouse or just like a sunroom or something to keep it in.
Right.
So, and my husband built me a hoop house. So I don't know if you've ever been in a hoop house. It's a real simple greenhouse.
Yeah, I don't even know what one is.
You just
Yeah, I don't know a lot about growing. That's something I need to learn more about because I've never done it. I'd like to learn.
Oh, yeah, I love
That's
it.
my list of something, the way the civilization is going that we should all be doing.
Yeah, and gathering, foraging. Even if you don't learn how to grow things yourself, just learning what you could forage and survive on is is a good skill. So I've upped my foraging skills dramatically over the past year. And it really helped me because I had this sort of almost anxiety about I'm not getting enough stuff planted. I'm not, producing enough food because I'm working on, our goal is food sovereignty for my family. And, that's not an easy goal. So I'll be working on it.
Excuse me, teacher, I have a question. I don't know what a food sovereignty is.
It's where you're producing all your own food.
Yeah, that's what I want for my. I'm getting ready to start a nonprofit to create a healing community, and that's definitely. I'm going to need somebody there to do that for me because I don't know or help me learn. But that's definitely part of what I want to do there too.
It's huge. It's huge. So once I started studying and upping my foraging skills and learning what weeds I could use medicinally and eat and work with, it like opened up a whole nother world. And it's like, you know what? I don't need to plant as much because all of this grows. And like, there's no way I could possibly eat or use as medicine all that is before me on this. We have 6 acres. On this 6 acres, there's already everything we need growing, So now it's a matter of adding what we like to eat, because you can get sick of eating weeds, like after a while. But
I get kind of tired of the strict diet that I have too.
Yeah, I know. It's like people. I have celiac disease, so I don't eat gluten, and people are like, "Oh, I thought you didn't."
I don't even eat wheat or grains or dairy, so it gets pretty.
Yeah, people are like, "I thought you didn't like cake." I'm like, "Are you crazy? Are you nuts? Who doesn't like cake?" I desire cake.
Yes, but, and then when I do go and try to have some cake, then I don't feel well, and that cake was not worth it.
It's not. Nothing tastes as good as not eating it feels. So that's what I have to tell myself.
Yes. It's so much better to not eat it and feel well than to whatever the enjoyment of eating it sometimes is. Right. Although once in a while it is worth it.
Well, there's always chocolate, though.
Oh, yes. I love chocolate. Luckily, I can do that.
So when I go to work, my day job, and everybody's eating cake and pizza and donuts and, all that. And I just go home and I have myself a little bit of chocolate and I'm fine. I'm over it.
The chocolate. And I make my smoothies on the sweet side, so that's kind of my substitute for that ice creamy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I still do a little bit of dairy, but I love my grass-fed butter. Talking about your omega-6.
Well, I have ghee, 6. And if I could get the raw dairy, I'd be fine with that too.
Mm-hmm. Like straight out of the animal.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to get Lisa a cow. That's all there is to it.
How about a goat? A goat, and then I don't have to mow my backyard here in this townhouse. I'll just put a goat in.
You just put a goat in. But I'm telling you, I grew up milking the goats before school every morning. And my arms are like incredible. Like my hand strength and my grip strength is like way off the charts strong.
Oh, wow.
I bet.
When I was in my 30s, I started having pain, and they said, "Oh, you got carpal tunnel." I was like, "Okay." So they sent me to hand therapy, and they were doing tests and everything, and then they're like, "Are you sure you're in pain?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure." Like really positive. It's hurting. They're like, "Because you have the hand strength of an 18-year-old male." I was like, "What?" Yeah. And that was impaired in my 30s, So,
wow.
So those goats will strengthen you up. They'll give you little Popeye arms there.
See, that's the area I need some help with. That's not my forte. But I'd love to learn.
Yeah, that's when you want to get a little I don't know, milking machine of some sort, or...
Well, I know about milking myself, and I had a milking machine for me, but that's about the extent of it.
Yeah, I had a pump too. And I learned,
Yeah.
like, at first I was like, why can't I pump? What is going on? I know there's milk, you know,
Right.
it's dripping, but I can't pump it. So I called the lactation specialist, and she's like, let me guess. You're big. I said, yeah. One size does not fit all with the little, you know, cup that you put.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So she's like, she just left the, you know, the right attachments on the chair outside her door, and I went and picked it up, and I was pumping.
Yeah, my first two, I tried to do them like cheapy pumps, and nothing ever came out, so they were exclusively nursed, and I never pumped anything. But the third one, I had to go back to work, and so I had me one of those fancy double duty things, and that really worked.
Yeah, that's
nice.
Great. And then when I was done, I donated it to, because I wasn't planning on having another one. They told me I was taking my life in my hands.
Right.
Having him, so yeah, I'm glad I got to experience it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a nice
So
thing.
you have two children, Kira, is that right?
I just have the one, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So
I see.
And I remember earlier when you mentioned the Lupron, I was taking that lovely drug too for a while.
Did you go nuts or what?
Oh yeah,
I wrote
absolutely.
the best poetry though, I'm telling you.
That was part of, at the time I was on 11 pharmaceuticals, so that was just one of them. Yeah.
Right.
Good
Yes.
Lord. Yeah, we've been some places.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm happy to still be here, and everything I learned from Cynthia, the spiritual part of it is, you know, it's just so key.
It's taking it to the next level, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, past that. Yeah. Yeah. No, because then once you, I mean, well, we get it most of the time. Obviously, I have my lapses too, but then you can see it in other people who don't have it so easily.
Right. I know. I see people all the time who are suffering, and I know I know that they're suffering in the way that I was suffering.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's like I see them going through what I was going through, and if I could just impart what I know on them so that they didn't have to go through it.
But this brings us back to the beginning where me and Cynthia were talking about it's the process of discovering that for yourself.
Yeah.
Where your unmet needs are. It's the process. So you could, that's why I wait for people to come to me, because they're just looking for guidance. They already have that curiosity, and they already want to heal. So I don't go
absolutely.
to people, I
am going to do a website and do my own nonprofit, because I'm finding if I just put it out there and the ones who want, then it'll just be there for them. For when they're ready, and for when then they can process it. I think I get a little overzealous and lose people.
Yeah.
Well, no, the thing is, the great ones, once again,
you can't answer. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
You can't answer a question that hasn't been asked.
Right.
Yeah, so that's where I'm learning, because I just want to give them an infusion of knowledge. They're not ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely, because you're a dear, dear spirit. You are a healer in nature and enthusiastic and wanting to help. And that's as a healer, that's one of the toughest lessons, to really get it to, and then it goes back into unconditional love and just loving them for where they are on their journey, even if it means that they're going to have to drop their body. And, you know what I mean? Return back to non-physical. And sometimes they're so far gone when they go back to non-physical, you can have a much better relationship with them while they are in non-physical, because non-physical is pure positive energy. So you can have a much better, relationship. I am discovering a much better relationship with my mother now that she's back into non-physical than ever when she was alive. We had a lot of difficulties, her and I, and personality clashes and a lot of problems, and now it's just it's a beautiful relationship. And I wanted to, and you can do that. And I know it sounds weird, and I know it sounds airy-fairy, but it's not. It's physics. And, their awareness, non-physical awareness of us is so profound and astute and there for the offering. All we have to do is just open up a little bit and talk to them. And it was so funny, Lisa, because when you were talking about the two doves, I got very strongly, I wish you would have asked them, who are you? Because I got very strongly, I do that all the time. They knew you. And one of the like a life process, Abraham was just, and y'all know I'm an Abraham Hicks fan as well, but that, one of the first things, a good thing to do, there's a great, I'll share with you, 4 things to do when you get up, and one of them is going out in nature and just sort of talking and asking non-physical, are you aware of me? Which they are, very much are, and I trust you to help me today. I trust you. And then they said Esther walks around her garden and said, and you're my favorite rock, and you're my favorite plant, and you're my favorite plant, and you're my favorite plant, and you're my favorite frog, even though you kept me up all night croaking, and, and going on and on. But especially ones with wings. I mean, another time I'll tell you an incredible story. And my greatest teacher to commune with non-physical energy was my cat. Her name was Midnight. And she taught me a lesson, and I've written a short story about it, about communing with, either non-physical energy, or they do send us, especially, and Abraham says too, anything with wings, they're great messengers. So a lot of times that happens. I say, well, who are you? And what message do you have? And who sent you? Or, things like that. But this thing with my cat, Midnight, what I'm saying, it would blow your mind what she taught me and how she taught me to do. And then consequently with my Chihuahua, same communication. He chose to send me crickets. And then with my other cat, Pearl, she chose to send me tiger swallowtail, butterflies, and, it goes on, and you really start, once you start practicing, like, communing like that kind of communion and communication, it opens up a whole new world. And just a little side note too, I've said this before, but Midnight, who was, so near and dear to me, I decided to put her on the supplements that I was given, recommended, when I was in cancer. And it wasn't until a couple of years later, because I continued to take them, and I was like, well, these work so well for me. I wonder, I'll just try a little bit on Midnight, and like whole different cats. So I gave her a little bit of antioxidants, flora, digestive enzymes, and she wasn't even ill at that time. I was just like, it's got to be good for her. Just slowing down a little bit, Well, long story short, that cat, and I do believe it's because of the supplements and some of the other things I was giving her. She lived to be 27 years old.
Whoa. Yeah, I had a cat that lived really long, too.
And my Chihuahua, 22. So,
wow.
These supplements are so powerful, like they're just not for cleansing cells and, alkalizing the body, but we're talking also about, like, life extension as well.
Yeah. Wow.
That's exactly what we're sitting here doing. Okay, the cat's in pain. What do we got around here we can give him? We got some fish oil. Will he eat that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Gobble.
Will he eat some of these hemp seeds if we put that in his food?
Yep.
Somewhat.
Hemp seeds.
The hemp seeds again.
Oh, right.
Yep.
If you put fish oil on top of it, yeah, he'll gobble that up. They love fish oil.
Actually, he didn't eat. She put the fish oil capsules in his food that he loves, and he wouldn't eat it. So I was like, I don't know. Maybe he will later.
Yeah. Poor guy. Poor guy. I don't let my inside cats out. Because of that.
That's where I don't even think he's going to want to go out anymore. So he'll be an inside cat. I think he's learned his lesson now for good.
Because they would get their butts kicked too, because the cats that are outside are completely feral, so.
Right. I think that's we know who this one belongs to, but it's not right. Yeah. You can tell it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because a raccoon came up on the deck the other night, and the cat was out on the deck. And I'm thinking, now, is the raccoon going to get the cat? But the cat just swiped at the raccoon, and the raccoon went running.
Interesting. Wow.
So he's good with the raccoon. It's just that other cat.
That other cat. Yep. It's a jungle out there.
But like Cynthia was saying, I'm not a cat person, and I'm trying to tune into this cat because I think it's here to teach me something, and I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah. They pick you. They really do.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I sat many times actually in front of Abraham in the hot seat and talked to Abraham about my cats, and they said they agree wholeheartedly that, my cat was my greatest teacher. But something else that didn't even dawn on me that she was teaching me is they said to me, look at her. Look how she is. She is not looking. Do you think she doubts her worthiness?
Right.
She's listening. She doesn't listen to what you tell her to do. She is listening to her own counsel.
Mm-hmm.
She is not looking for approval. Cats are great teachers, when you look at it from that point of view. And, they talk and tease a lot because Esther had a cat, and the cat's name was Party Cat. But Party Cat just wouldn't listen. Party Cat did what Party Cat wanted to do and wasn't looking to Esther for approval or to, ask, what to do and what not to do and, how to feel about this and how to feel about that. She, you know what I mean? She listened to her own counsel. And just in that is a great lesson to observe and be learned and, to stop looking to others for approval, and if you are, that means there's, a big unworthiness, energy going on in your space for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's going back to the whole thing about self-love and our training not to love ourselves is that we don't trust ourselves either. And sometimes when we have these little freakouts, I have them all the time where I just sort of I get obsessive about something or like my behavior is more impulsive or something than usual. And then I'm like, what is going on? Why am I doing this? And then, instead of judging myself, because when I judge myself about it, I don't get to the bottom of it. You know what I mean? So
and it just gets worse.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's very good when you realize that those negative emotions are actually fantastic because they're guidance. So, and we all do it, but if you can stop in the middle of it and go, okay, I am not receiving my desire right now, and keep your humor about it. What is it that I'm wanting down to, on hold to talk to, whatever credit card company or phone company, whatever you need to do. And I think it all drives us right up the wall when it says, we appreciate your patience. Like, who said I'm being patient? But, yeah.
Sorry, but customer service reps I've talked to. I do. I feel sorry for them after I'm done. It's like, oh.
But in the middle of that, when you're on hold, something simple as that, when you feel yourself, and what you're really doing, you're getting riled up, but what you're starting to do is step away from your own source energy. Do you see what I'm saying? But it's still great, and it's still guidance. So you can, right in that moment when you're like, okay, what is it? What is my desire? And then you kind of relax right there. What is my desire that I am not receiving? And then you're like, I want to get this issue resolved as quickly as possible. I feel overwhelmed and have too much to do in my day, and when you start going through that, then you immediately calm down. So instead of beating yourself up over a knee-jerk reaction or an obsession or what have you, instead when you stand in the middle of it and go, this is good, I'm getting guidance, because it's your inner being saying you're separating from your source here. And then what is it? And it takes practice, and we all snap from time to time, but it becomes like a muscle or anything else when you're in the middle of that. It's like, okay, what is my desire? What am I not receiving that I am asking for? That kind of self-talk really gets you out of beating yourself up because you weren't, somebody else's standard of perfect, which doesn't exist anyway.
Yeah. I've had, my trigger, I have a real big trigger with passive aggression. because I don't like it in myself. So when I see it in other people, I really react to it, right? So
right in that's another word that everyone has a very different definition for. So
right.
What is your definition of passive aggressive?
When somebody is like, let's see, they're mad about something, but they don't want to come out and just confront you and say, like, the XYZ pissed me off. Why did you do that, or whatever? Instead, they're like, well, I don't like it when people do this, instead of coming to you directly. So, oh man, we're at the end.
We could do another whole show on this.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
That was so much fun. Love you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Talk soon.